Hello, and welcome to the Scott Mize Show, a podcast focused on health, diet, bodybuilding, and philosophy. I interview experts, doctors, coaches, and N=1 case studies to answer your questions about improving health, achieving your best physique, and making sustainable progress. We'll cover topics from carnivore and ketogenic diets to bodybuilding to life philosophy and everything in between. Enjoy the show. Carnivore and ketogenic diets can be an excellent way to combat diseases we commonly associate with aging and degeneration in the modern world. But if you're like me, you want to do everything possible to stay in your prime physically and mentally as long as you can, especially with me thinking about starting a family. I really value the most research-backed ingredients and science for bettering the aging process. Today's sponsor is Neurohacker, which packs 7 of the most science-backed senolytic ingredients into one formula called Qualia Senolytic. And you can take it just 2 days a month for fast and noticeable benefits and for a much better aging process. I've been taking Qualia Senolytic for the last month, and I've already noticed a big improvement in my physical and mental energy for my family and friends, and my productivity has improved. I feel invigorated, I feel enthusiastic, and ready to get things done. It's also backed by a 100-day money-back guarantee, so that means you can try it for almost 3 full months, and if you don't like it, there's no risk. You can decide for yourself. If you're in your late 20s or older, adding Qualia Senolytic to your diet can play a crucial role in combating negative aging symptoms. Go to neurohacker.com/Scott for up to 50% off Qualia Senolytic. And as a listener of the show, you can use code SCOTT at checkout for an extra 15% off your first purchase. Again, it's risk-free. Just go to neurohacker.com/Scott to try Qualia Senolytic with code SCOTT and start aging on your own terms. Thanks, and back to the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scott Mize Show. Today, I'm going to be doing a different sort of podcast. It's just going to be me for today's show, and I'm going to be talking about how I got shredded for my photo shoot earlier this year. I've had a lot of questions, people asking me how I did it, what it was like, why I did it, whether I'm competing, and so I'm going to answer all of that in today's episode. And so I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode with me, Scott, on my photo shoot. So I'll start with why. Why did I do a photo shoot? Why did I try to get lean for a photo shoot? And really, it's just something I wanted to work towards. I wanted to challenge myself. I've been bodybuilding for the last few years very seriously, and I wanted to have a goal that I set for myself. A lot of people like to run a marathon or do some other athletic endeavor. For me, it was about having a photo shoot. And a lot of people asked, are you going to use the photos for anything? I said, really, no, they're just for me and my wife. And, I joked that I had a goal of trying to beat the romance novel covers of her favorite books. And I hope I achieved that. But really, it was just a form of trying to self-actualize and reach a certain standard and see how lean I could get for that. And I didn't plan to compete in a bodybuilding show. For one, this is my first time dieting down really lean, so I didn't think getting all the way to stage shredded, which is past getting how lean I got for the photo shoot. I thought doing that for the first time wasn't a great idea. Generally, it's known that each time you get lean, it's easier. So I didn't want the first time I did it to be going all the way, if that makes sense. Also, a bodybuilding show comes with a lot of other hassles. You have to worry about your tan, worry about your posing, worry about your trunks, getting to the show. There's a lot of stress around it. And at the end of the day, you don't even get very good photos because the photos taken at shows are not great lighting, not great angles. For photo shoot, it's just you. You get to have fun, be proud, and walk away with something that is really special. And usually the photos are much better than you would get from competing. So that's why I started with a photo shoot. In the future, I don't know if I'll compete or do more photo shoots. I loved the photo shoot experience. So for now, that's where I'm at. So next thing I want to talk about is the timeline. So this photo shoot prep started in early January of this year and lasted until late April. So call it 3.5-ish months, 13 or 14 weeks. And I had kind of planned to do it a little bit earlier, but then kept thinking, it'd make sense to push it back a little bit more. And I was making good progress. So wanted to go just a little bit harder and push it further than I had originally planned. And I ended up getting leaner than I had originally planned. So next thing on the docket is training. So a lot of people ask me about my training. How did I train for this show? How much cardio was I doing? So I'm going to talk about all of that. So training for me is what it has been for the last 3 or 4 years, which is 5 to 6 days a week in the gym, lifting weights. Usually that's 15 to 20 working sets, which are, I don't count my warm-up sets. Those are 15 to 20 sets, very close to failure, across whatever body parts I'm training that day and whatever exercises I'm using. Usually would take me I would start my watch after I did my first working set. And usually the workouts would last like 50 minutes to an hour. So call it with warm-ups, like an hour and 15 minutes, maybe, sometimes shorter, usually not much longer. And my training split. Everyone wants to know the training split. So I used pretty much a modified push legs pull split. When I say modified, it's things like I did delts, so like lateral raises, on all my upper body days. I didn't just do them on my push days. So the way the split was constructed was Monday was push, so chest, triceps. I also did one back movement and I did biceps. And then Tuesday and delts, side delts. And Tuesday was usually legs, so quads and some hamstrings and calves. Wednesday was pull, so everything in the back. And then delts and biceps. Thursday was push again, this time just chest, delts, triceps, calves, and biceps. I didn't do any back movements on Thursday. Friday, legs again, this time more hamstring and some quad. No calves on this day because I did them the day before on push. And then Saturday would be my second full back day, and I do one tricep movement in there too. So it'd be back, delts, and tricep. And then Sunday would be off. And so I repeated that throughout the 13 to 14 weeks. I took 2 weeks total off training in that time period. One was unplanned, one was intentional. So one, I had the Rona, and it hit me really hard because I have asthma. So I have trouble breathing, in low air quality, things like that. And I was really struggling to breathe when I had it. And I had bad fevers. It was the first time I had it. So I lasted all the way until like March of 2023, but then it hit me very hard. And my wife got it as well. So that week was completely off the gym. And then I had another week where I was intentionally off the gym to just recover. I still went in and did some light workouts, but you can call it a deload. I wasn't, trying to really train my muscles close to failure. Cardio. So I did 12 to 14,000 steps a day. I live in New York. I live in Brooklyn. I walk everywhere. I don't own a car. I have a dog. So it's very easy for me to get to a high step count. But I did some intentional adding of steps. And in the morning, I would walk to the gym, which is like 6 minutes away, and I would do 20 minutes on the treadmill at an incline, to try to get my heart rate up and sweat a little bit and get a bunch of steps in before I eat my first meal. So I would start that at like 3.5 speed and 4 incline, and then I eventually got up to like 8 to 10 incline, and then back down for the last 8 minutes. So wasn't terribly difficult. I wasn't like, it wasn't like jogging.
But it was definitely getting my heart rate up. And yeah, that's how I'd start my day. So no other cardio, just the 12 to 14,000 steps a day, usually closer to 12. And that was every single day. So I'd go to the gym every single day, first thing in the morning, do that 20 minutes on the incline treadmill. And every single day I would do 12 to 14,000 steps. Um, Recovery. So talked about people are like training and diet, but I wanted to talk about recovery as well. So I think this is super important and a big reason people aren't getting the results you want. And, if you want to get to a new level of body fat or build muscle, I think this is the most overlooked area. So I slept 9 to 10 hours a night, every single night. Um, a lot of people say they can't do that. Some people actually can't do that. I've set my life up so I can do that. It's really important to me. I didn't travel during this time, so I was just at home. That was very convenient and worked out very well. I meditated. I took time for myself every day, just in general. And I also used some Delta 8 cannabis products, which are legal, 2 to 4 times a week to relax. Just a small dose, enough to help me sleep, help me relax at night at the end of the day. And next, I'm going to talk all about my diet. But before that, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll get straight into that.
This episode is brought to you by LMNT Electrolytes. This month, we're switching it up with an exclusive offer that's only for VIP LMNT partners, including Carnivorecast listeners. You can now receive this free sample pack along with any regular purchase when you use my custom link, which is provided in the show notes or my Instagram link in bio. That's drinklmnt.com/carnivorecast, all one word. And as I said, I'll include the link in the show notes. LMNT electrolytes are convenient, evidence-based, and delicious. And get yours today to help support the show. Thank you.
Nutrition, what everyone wants to know. What was the diet? So I'll start by saying some context. I bulked, meaning intentionally gained weight, increasing my calories for 3 full years leading up to this. So I was building up past the 5,000 calories a day mark. So what that does is it gave me headroom to lower my calories without having to eat a very small amount of food. So when you build up that base, and Robert Sykes, Keto Savage, talks about this. I think that was the first time I heard it, of building up your metabolic base. And then when you do cut, it's easier to take away from it. You're not starting here and having to cut, you're starting up here and you can cut like that. So this allowed me to start aggressively. And I think a big thing with diets, if you're an experienced dieter, if you're not an experienced dieter, I'd say make the minimal change you can stick to, and try to keep with that. But if you're an experienced dieter or you just don't have any appetite, you can start your cut more aggressively and then actually make it easier as you go on. Because when you have more body fat and your calories are starting high, it's actually easier to lose more fat then versus, let's say I'm at the end of a diet, I've already lost 20 pounds, my calories are really low, and then I'm trying to lose more weight faster then. That's really tough. I'd rather, when the going's good and it's easy, start at a really fast pace, and then when it gets harder and harder, add calories back and make it easier for myself. So that's what I did. I started aggressively. I cut back probably about 1,000 calories at the beginning, and added in some steps and added that steps on the incline treadmill in the morning. So this had me losing about 3 pounds per week for the first several weeks, after initial water weight loss. So the first 2 weeks, you're just losing a bunch of water. It's hard to really track how much weight you're losing, but after that, it was pretty steadily 3 pounds a week. And I should have mentioned I started this cut at about 225 pounds, 228 pounds. I'll share some pictures here. So this was the starting point. Big old boy Scott. See, I have a lot of body fat on my stomach, my arms, my legs, plenty to lose, my double chins. And I'll share a back shot as well from that time. So plenty of fat, not a lot of muscle definition, probably 20% body fat or more And that's where I started at about 225 pounds. And yeah, so I was losing 2 pounds a week, or 3 pounds a week, excuse me, for the first several weeks. And whenever weight loss slowed, um, myself or my coach would adjust calories down, call it about 200 calories. I think this only happened like twice because I was losing so well on the initial setup. And like I said, it's okay to lose less and less as you go on. I brought my calories up to maintenance, so trying to stop losing weight during my deload and my week where I was sick. Why? Because when you're not training hard, you don't have the stimulus to maintain your muscle. And it's not a great idea to be aggressively losing body weight because you're going to lose a proportionately more amount of muscle and less fat if there's no stimulus for your muscles to be retained. So when you're training really hard, you're in the gym, you're consistent, that's a good time to lose body fat versus if you just stop training and you lose a bunch of weight, a lot of it's going to be muscle. So similarly, when I was sick, I brought my calories back up to maintenance. Plus, you don't want that additional stress of dieting when you're trying to recover from an illness. I think it's always a good idea to eat at maintenance when you're sick or if you're injured to promote recovery. And then during my deload, I also ate at maintenance, although I still lost weight pretty quickly. Weight was just flying off me at one point. And then we got to peak week. So, and I'm going to talk about the specific foods I ate as well, but I'm just starting with how the plan went, calories went. So 2 weeks out, I slowed down my fat loss. I was losing too quickly, and I had a couple workouts in the gym where I went in and it was just no strength at all. My strength went way down, just like 2 workouts in a row. And so we bumped my food right up, and I basically stopped losing weight at 2 weeks out. And then at 1 week out, we did the loading. So the point is to carb load, well, deplete first and then carb load to make your muscles soak up all the carbohydrates and all the water and all the sodium so they really pop in the photos. And I'll show you photos so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. So 1 week out, we dropped the carbs super low for 2 days, and then we carb loaded for 2 or 3 days. The last day before the photo shoot, we actually cut out water and cut back on carbs a bit to dry out. So to get rid of that extracellular water in the muscle. And that worked really well. And then the day of, I was still holding on to a bit of extra water. I was still a bit watery, didn't have like the crisp, dry look to my muscles. And so didn't really consume any water the morning of and very little food until after the photo shoot. So what did I eat? Over the course of the diet, I ate 5 meals a day, evenly spaced out, typically from like 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. is about when I would eat. Every meal would start with lean meat, so chicken, beef, protein powder, sometimes Greek yogurt. And then I would have a fair amount of cream of rice, which is basically like plain white rice, no added iron, no added anything, just like the plainest carbohydrate you can have. I would have berries a few times a day because I tolerate those well. And I would have zucchini 2 or 3 times a day because I tolerate it well. And not much else. That was pretty much my diet. Lean proteins, cream of rice, berries, zucchini. That worked very well. What did I eat after the diet was over? More of the same. I didn't go and have a binge. I didn't really have huge desires for a bunch of treats or anything like that. I just wanted to eat more food and be less tired. Over the course of the diet, I wouldn't say I got abnormally hungry. There was some strong hunger in the last 3 weeks or so. But really, I just was getting more and more tired and lethargic. And that's very common in diets. And, my sleep was getting a little bit disturbed. It was actually pretty good. But so I just wanted to have like my energy back. The day after the photo shoot, I went out for barbecue with my family and friends. The barbecue place wasn't that good, but got some brisket, and it was more about the people and the experience. That was fun. And it was really nice that they were there to support me. I know people, so that's pretty much the photo shoot. That's what I did. Now I'll share some pictures. First, people will ask, I am on testosterone replacement therapy. That is prescribed through a doctor. That's something I've been on for since 2017, so 6 years now. I had below normal levels of testosterone. My total testosterone was 150 nanograms per deciliter consistently, which is like female levels. Um, and, so I've been taking that for a while. And the other thing I'll say is like, I'm not competing in a bodybuilding show, natural tested show or otherwise. So take from that what you will. Yeah. And so now I'd love to share with you some photos of the after. So we had fat, chunky Scott. Now let's show photo shoot Scott. Ooh. Okay, so this is one of the shots. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. This is, you can see my muscles are popping. There isn't a lot of body fat left. Pretty shredded there. Let's go to this one. This is probably one of my favorites. So along the course of the diet, I thought, oh, I don't really have abs because they're very flat and washed out in a lot of the pictures I take at home. But this shot, when I saw it, I like looked at the camera. I was like, no way, that's not me. Oh, it's fake. So very happy with this shot as well. You can see, a lot of muscle definition. So that was cool. This is the gym where we shot the photo shoot. And I'll just show a couple more. Here's one of my back. So this is where I got the most lean, really shredded in my back. You can see all the muscles popping out, the definition. You can see my hamstrings coming through a little bit. I need to work on my hamstrings. Really happy with this. Very proud of how this looks. And then also show you, this is nice. So this is me and my wife and our dog Chewy. And Chewy's licking my leg, giving me a kiss. So we did a couple photos together. It was really nice. She was there the whole time, supporting me, egging me on. I was very shy in front of the camera, but she brought me out of my shell and made me feel good. And so that was really, really nice. It was a fun experience. Like I said, the photo shoot was just the most fun. A lot of good memories, a lot of fun to be had, and it felt like taking our wedding photos. It was really carefree and memorable, and we had a blast. So yeah, any questions, let me know. That was my photo shoot. That's what I did from January to mid-April to get shredded. Now I'm gaining the body weight back. I got down to, I think, 201 pounds for the photo shoot. And now I'm at like 214. And it's over 2 months later. So I didn't gain back a ton of weight really quickly. It was gradual. And yeah, just enjoying training, enjoying food, enjoying time with my wife. No real competitive plans, no huge progress goals, just enjoying living life and doing all the things I love to do. So yes, please let me know if you have any questions. Reach out to me, send me a DM on Instagram, or shoot me an email. I'm always happy to talk to people, help answer questions. And yeah, thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to the show. You can find The Scott Mize Show on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Please leave a comment, like, review, or share the podcast with your friends or followers. It helps more people find the show.